at the Clovers for Assange protests.
Yes, it was.
Well, okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if it was January or March. My DC trips kind of blur together. So this is my friend Eric. You maybe know him from Twitter as @KoiContrarian. And he's actually a 10-year veteran of the military. He was a military journalist, which I'm very excited to talk to him about that aspect of his life. And he spent time in Haiti and on the border and in Egypt. And now he's an anti-war activist. And he, like I said, also went to an Assange protest with us, which we definitely appreciate. So I'm super excited to talk to him. Before we get into that, though, as you guys know, over the past couple of weeks, I've been trying to boost some comrades, whether it's artists, comedians, musicians who make stuff, whatever it is. So this week, I'm boosting my dear friend Jesse Jett, who you guys probably already know. He is like a legitimate in real life friend. I love him, and he makes amazing music. He doesn't really have a genre, I would say. Some kind of hip hop, some kind of I don't want to say pop, but kind of. He does like some weird 50s doo-wop stuff. He doesn't have a genre. He's very kind of eclectic, I would say. And he has done a lot of amazing work over the past couple of years. He's been on Facts on the Ground to perform his pieces and to talk about them. You guys should go check out those episodes. They're some of my favorite to do. But to kind of boost that, I did want to play a song that he did. Not a song, I guess. It's a spoken word piece. But he wrote it for Julian Assange. And I feel like that's very fitting, given that we just had a ridiculous court date today. So I am going to play that for you. It is 4 minutes long, but it's worth all 4 minutes of it. So if you guys will, okay, hold on, let me make sure I'm doing this right. Sorry, tech stuff. You guys know how it is with me and tech stuff. Okay, so okay. So this is Jesse Jett's Conviction, Winter in Belmarsh. Do please enjoy, and then we'll talk to Eric.
If you thought you saw your freedom, it was truly a mirage. Freedom's locked a cell away from Julian Assange. Our First Amendment rights are by his side behind bars, and the next voices silenced will be ours. Rest assured, democracy is rotting in the dark. Rest assured, we vilified dissenters, pushed out black renters, and tore down their housing just to build a little urban park. God, I tell you, old America really knows how to leave its mark. Blaze a trail, leave 100 scars. Rip your free speech out your throat, demonize the man who told you it was so, and leave him freezing in a cell in Belmarsh, perpetually awaiting extradition, thrown to the wolves of claustrophobia and malnutrition. And all that we can hope is that we catch Uncle Joe in a fleeting lucid moment of his flickering senile fascist mission. That maybe we could trick him into thinking Julian is just some sweet blonde middle school Christian, and she got mixed up with a few bad apples, slapped with some charges, and thrown into prison. Joe would set him free without a moment's hesitation under one condition: that he can sniff her hair before she goes back to school and he goes back to business. But if Joe's just had his shots, then we haven't got a chance of getting past his black and white vision, getting past his gut reaction to appease all of his donors' sick requests and make policy and law around corporate mandated decisions. So really, all along, I think Julian was one man standing in a tempest with the fearlessness of true conviction. And if his is the only conviction we see after he shed a light on this country's most poisonous schemes all come to fruition, and we all collectively stare at the ground because we felt like our hands were too tied beyond signing petitions, while he's tortured to death for attempting to warn and enlighten admittedly not quite the brightest of citizens. And half of this country just won't take the time to uncover the truth, or they just don't mind, so they're quick to dismiss it and say it's a difficult position. Then we're back to the comfort of centrist delusion. We're right back to sleep for those ignorant sheep who resisted themselves into one protracted contusion, twisting themselves into knots to correct all your stimulus check-based confusion, wrapping their necks around their backs as they justify overflow migrant detention or fracking pollution. Then Kamala laughs, and the camera pans down to her shoes. And that footage is 90% of your 6 o'clock news. Except for a feel-good story about a man who at 95 years young just made Employee of the Month at Whole Foods. And the $50 gift card means this month he'll afford his prescriptions and meals, and he won't have to choose. This is the machine that a man named Julian Assange threw his body on the gears of for you. So to cry out for his freedom is the least that we can do. Now best believe the feds will serve to muddy up the truth, but rest assured the temperature in Belmarsh is an icy 22, and Julian is shivering in a solitary room without a view. Rest assured Obama loves a whistleblower just about as much as he loves weddings where he doesn't get to detonate the groom. Rest assured Obama bought the plot where all our First Amendment rights are gonna rot and demanded that they carve his smiling likeness on the tomb. So that when you come to pay respects to your free speech rights and a somber feeling hits you and you look up to the sky, the answer will be staring you right in the eyes to the questions of why and of who. So if you thought you saw your freedom, then they wanted you to. Human rights are mutable, and Julian is proof. Our First Amendment rights are stuck in solitary too. And the next voice silent might be you.
Oh, so good.
Jeez.
So good. I'm sorry. That's like a really bummer way to start the show.
You know what though? It is a good way to start it because my experience in learning about Assange isn't quite the ones that you probably had or Steve or any of the other people involved with Action for Assange and stuff. Like I knew very, very, very little. And it took me a long time to understand, like, he was cooped up in an Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years. I had no idea. I had no idea of the extent of what Belmarsh prison was, and once you learn those things, it's hard to like turn away from it and go, well, he probably was up to something. Well, he was up to something. He was up to,
damn straight.
Like he was up to, shedding the light on atrocities.
Yes.
And doing so in the most journalistic way possible. And that is just giving you the information without any commentary.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my favorite thing about WikiLeaks is it's not commentary. It's not speculation. It's not, opinion. It's just hard facts. It's just source documentation. Here you go. This is the evidence. This is the proof. You read it. You decide what you think of it. And, you're right. I think a lot of people are really unaware of what Julian has legitimately been through over the course of the past decade. He has been subjected to psychological torture for over a decade. And what's really frustrating about what happened today is, I'm reading the live tweets. Obviously, we have no access to any video feed or any audio feed of what's happening in the most important press freedom case of our lifetimes, potentially ever. The public has no access to it other than the valiant efforts of some journalists who are trying to like live tweet the event.
Like Richard Medhurst, I was trying to follow him.
Yeah, Richard Medhurst, Kevin Gosztola, Stefania Maruzzi, Juan Passarelli. There's a lot of really amazing journalists who are trying to do that work, but that is a ridiculous idea. The fact that the public has no access to what's happening in those court proceedings. But then today they're up there discussing whether or not Julian Assange is a malingerer, whether he's pretending to be seriously depressed and suicidal as he's literally sitting in this tiny room looking very thin and pale and frail and sick. And everybody, Stefania Maruzzi's known him since like 2009. She's worked with him. She's been a partner with WikiLeaks and exposing some of this stuff, a journalistic partner. And she's known him for a very long time. And she couldn't even stand to look at him. It's so it's that bad. And they're up there. And then you've got, Mega Brain, QC Lewis, who's a fucking fuckface of epic proportions. Fuck that guy to the ends of the earth, dude. What a scumbag. But he's up there talking about how Julian's faking it and that he's not really suicidal and that it's fine if the U.S. has made assurances, you guys. It'll be fine. Fuck your assurances. These are the people who were plotting to kill him. Yeah. Like, we know that they were plotting to kill him. He should not be extradited. It should be out of the question. This should be over today. And it's not. Oh, I'm so mad, you guys. I'm so fucking pissed off.
Well, and the thing is it goes back to like I care about this stuff, and I had to completely go out of my way to learn what was actually happening to him for years before I even knew it was happening. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about probably the biggest journalistic rights trial of our time. And I'm old enough to remember the OJ trial, and that was 24/7 in your face when that was going on. and it meant nothing to anybody,
Mhm.
I shouldn't say nothing, but because it did spark some civil unrest out there in California and some other cities too. But I mean, not to the level of the impact this has on journalism and holding governments accountable for atrocities across the planet.
Yeah. I mean, this affects all of us, every person on the globe, because the United States in court, they're essentially admitting that what they're doing is seeking global jurisdiction over information and journalism. I'm just going to keep saying it. That's what's happening here. The United States wants the ability and the precedent, the legal precedent, to be able to go and arrest anybody, anytime, anywhere, if they publish or say or write anything that embarrasses them or that exposes them or that makes them look bad. And that should terrify all of us. That's a crazy idea. I mean, this is the first time a journalist will be, punished. If it's the first time that any of them are being charged under the Espionage Act. It's crazy what's happening. And like you just said, you have to go search out information on what's happening to Julian Assange. It's not talked about at all. Like, I was talking to Bess from Millennial Splaining. She didn't even know that he wasn't American. She thought he was American. He's not American, you guys. He's not even fucking American. We're charging him under our Espionage Act, but affording him none of the protections of the First Amendment. What the fuck? Like, what is happening?
None of it makes any sense at all from the get-go, and I'll get into kind of my experience as a military journalist, but it just goes to show, like, they don't want you to tell the story that they don't want told.
No, they want complete narrative control.
Correct.
That's what this is. They want complete narrative control. They want to be able to write the story the way they want it to be written. They don't want you to have access to anything outside of the approved official narrative. And, we've seen these are people, they're known liars. I mean, they're known. It's not like we don't know. I mean, how many times, I say this all the time too, how many times does your government get to lie to you before your sense of skepticism kicks in? I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't want these people having control over information, over what we're allowed to know. Stella said it really beautifully the other day when she was at one of the protests. I think it was on Sunday. She said, your right to know is what's being criminalized. Everybody, all of our right to know what our governments are doing. Julian exposed some of the most heinous war crimes you can imagine. Rape, torture, double tap strikes, like the most the murdering of journalists. It's insane. And when I was on Amped Up with Ryan Knight the other day, I was telling him that we always punish our truth tellers. It's like the torture program was exposed. The only person who ever saw jail time for that was the whistleblower. The only people who have ever saw jail time for the war crimes that were exposed in the Collateral Murder video and the Iraq war logs and the Afghanistan war logs is Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
And then Bush gets to dance with Ellen.
Yes. And Dick Cheney gets to, still have his pretty little fingers in our foreign policy and continue to make all the same bullshit. I mean, Mike Pompeo, for the love of God, still, he's probably going to run for president. I mean, these are psychopaths, and they get to walk away scot-free while Julian Assange is literally being tortured to death. We are witnessing a slow motion execution. That's what's happening. Oh.
Yeah, I see it more as okay, so maybe they don't get to extradite him to the U.S. They're kind of like, who cares? Because he's gonna shrivel up and die in Belmarsh anyway.
I think that's what they want. I don't think that they legitimately want to have him extradited. I think that's why they're trying to drag it out as long as they can. I think that we know the Stratfor leaks showed us that was their plan, was to tie him up in legal stuff for the next 25 years to keep him shut up. And if he dies in prison as a result of that, then all the better. Then they can just wash their hands of it. I'm a little surprised that the UK is comfortable with him being in their prison system, because when he dies, they're going to be the ones holding that. But I honestly just think they're so afraid of the US, they don't give a shit. They're just such a bitch of the US that they just do not care. I think they were hoping to get him to Sweden so that they could push it off on Sweden. That didn't work out for them. So I don't know. What really frustrates me is the fact that the people don't care. They just don't care. They don't care what's happening to him. And it's really sad.
Part of me is upset that they don't care, but part of me is that, when you're talking about average Joe American, you know, they're not going to go out of their way to learn about something that they're not being told that they need to learn about anyway. They're going to go to their job and work 40 plus hours a week. They're going to take care of their kids. They're going to make dinner, and they're going to take their kids to, you know, dance and in basketball and then live their lives, and then have all of like a half hour to curl up on their couch with their with their spouse and watch TV and go to bed. Like there's nothing in their day
Yeah.
to suggest like I need to look into our First Amendment rights getting torn to shreds because I'm not being told it's happening right now.
Well, in First Amendment rights, it's such an abstract concept for most people because it's not in your face. It's not like, oh, I can't afford groceries this week. It's not,
Right.
oh, I can't afford my medicine this week, or oh, I have to work 2 jobs, or oh, I can't, my kid needs new basketball shoes. It's not like an in-your-face thing every day. It's this kind of abstract thing that's being slowly stripped away from us. And it's been happening over the course of, for decades, really.
Yeah.
But like over the past 15 years, the escalation of the attacks on our ability to like think and know and speak, all of that stuff, protests, like all of that stuff has been like those attacks have been under Obama. Jesus Christ.
Oh, unreal.
I mean, unreal, right? So, what frustrates me is that there are people who I interact with on a regular basis on Twitter who don't care. They don't care. They cannot be bothered to care, or worse, they call people who do care cultists, and mock Julian Assange, and change their Twitter names to Julian Assange's bodyguard because they think it's going to make Assange supporters angry or whatever. Like it's this really like disgusting apathy that I just do not get, especially from people who claim to be leftist. Free speech used to be a very solidly leftist idea. And a lot of people like there's the whole fight that I have with the Twitter commies who are like, oh, well, I don't give a shit because I don't care about the First Amendment because I want to tear the Constitution apart. Well, that's fine. Like that's great. But how do you intend to do that? How do you intend to fight? How do you intend to lead a revolution if you can't even like disperse information? If you can't even spread your ideas effectively? If you can't even protest? If you can't, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? This is to me, it's such an obvious thing that, and not only that, this man is being tortured to death in prison for no reason. If you care at all about human rights and humanity, you should care about that. That's fucked up.
Well, the little bit of news that they'll hear about Julian Assange is that there was these charges of sexual assault, and as soon as they see that, then it's like, oh, he's one of those guys.
I'm so sick of that.
Let him rot in prison,
y'all.
That's what you get from the normies. Sorry for using that overused term, but
no, but it's true. But I'm so sick of the sexual assault stuff because here's the thing. It doesn't fucking matter. It's not what he's in prison for. It has nothing to do with the case at hand. Nothing.
That's just smearing him. That's all.
Yes. No, and it's so obvious. Like, people, I get that all the time. Oh, you support a rapist. He's a rapist. Well, first of all, no, he's fucking not.
No.
Nils Melzer has done an amazing job of debunking all of that. It's not like the information isn't out there and freely available. Go educate yourself.
Right.
But even if it's true, even if you believe that it's true, despite the fact that it's been pretty handedly debunked, even if that's true, fine. Julian Assange was more than willing and actually quite eager to address those allegations and to participate in a court case and to have that conversation. He tried multiple times to get interviewed. He was very willing to cooperate in that investigation. So he can go to court for that. Like, that's great. Let's do that. It has nothing to do with what he's being charged with now. Nothing
to do with exposing that the U.S. military has been doing atrocity after atrocity for as long as he's been doing it, and much longer than that. And that's what this whole thing's about. It has nothing to do with sexual assault that has been easily debunked.
Yeah, it's a distraction, but you're right. It's very effective. It is they've managed to create this like comic book villain character out of Julian Assange. And it's been like a really concentrated. I have not seen a smear campaign leveled at one human being that is this comprehensive. This is over a decade. Like,
Yeah.
and they've thrown everything at him. Like, he's a traitor. He's a hacker. He smears poop on the walls. He doesn't take care of his cat. He's a rapist. He's a high-tech terrorist. He's you know what I mean? Like, they have thrown every smear, and over the course of a decade, dude, like, that's for one dude. Like,
Yep.
to take down one dude, it's crazy. Oh,
Do you think it's merely a coincidence? I think I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. A coincidence, or do you think it was all planned with Steven Danziger today?
Oh, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think Donziger having to turn himself in today. I mean, it's a couple different things. One, it was a distraction, and I don't mean that this is like his case isn't equally as important. I'm a huge supporter of Steve Donziger. I'm not saying that, but it is a distraction away from what's happening to Julian Assange when both things are happening at the same time.
Right.
And it's very telling that Steve Donziger. I tweeted about this. It's like just another level of absurdity in this like injustice system that this guy, this lawyer who was, fighting Chevron for destroying the environment has to turn himself in on the same day that a journalist has to enter into court again to fight for his life and the future of press freedom. It speaks volumes about where we are as a country. It's terrifying.
And it's amazing. If I think if you ask just a random person on the street if they know who Julian Assange is, they're like, they'll probably heard the name, but they have no idea who Steven Donziger is at all.
No.
And that it just goes to show more that like just because it's not 24/7 on cable corporate news, people don't know and don't care.
Yeah. Well, like you said, though, they're busy. You can't really blame people.
Right.
People have to work like 2 jobs, and they have soccer practice, and they have to go get groceries, and they have to mow their grass, and people have shit going on, and that's intentional. That's why we're kept so busy. They don't want you educated. I mean, George Carlin has been talking about this for decades. I mean, obviously, but he told us that decades ago. They just want you smart enough to run the machine. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't want you to be able to defend yourself. If you're educated, you can defend yourself. You can fight back. They don't want that.
And a lot of those strategies, like I didn't. So as you know, I was in the military. I was in 2 different branches in the military over 10 years. I was a journalist in both of them. And it was like during that time that I didn't really completely understand what I was doing. And I didn't understand I was a propagandist. I thought I was doing the right thing. I wasn't one to join the military. I don't come from a military family. No one in my family is ever.
Why did you join the military? Like what? What was it? Like, just curiously.
Yeah. So I went to college out of high school. I dropped out almost immediately, and I did the stupid thing of continuing to live on campus and hang out with my friends as they continued to go through over the years. And then as they started graduating, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I got to do something with my life. And so that's when, I went back to the dried up well of like, hey, parents, I'm ready to go back to school. And they're like, oh, that ship sailed. So it's like, well, you can either try to do it on your own, or you can look at, joining the National Guard or something. And I was anti-military all growing up. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm doing that shit. Lo and behold, I did end up joining. It's the Air National Guard, which is like, it is the military, but it's not the military. Like you still, it's the National Guard and it's the Air Force version of it. So like, yeah, you still go to boot camp and training and all that crap, but then you go back to your home and then you like do the weekend drills and the 2 weeks a month thing or 2 weeks a year thing. And I actually ended up doing it full time because I did end up getting into journalism. I did end up getting an associate's in journalism, and then ended up doing it for the National Guard. So that was like, my way of getting in. And I had no one. I was like, I'm going to do the 1 term and then get the hell out. Life happens quickly, and I ended up switching from the Air Guard to the Army for a variety of reasons. But I got to do more journalism in the Air Guard, and I got to do more traveling with the Army. So the experiences are different for different reasons, but I learned a lot about manipulation. And I use that term not entirely in its negative context, because you and I right now are manipulating each other. Words are coming out of our mouth, and I'm trying to convince you of something, you're trying to convince me of something. And so that free-flowing conversations are manipulate, you're manipulating each other. I'm trying to convince you to think one way, and you're trying to convince me to think one way, and maybe we agree, maybe we don't. But I quickly learned that manipulation is constantly happening. And then when manipulation is being used by the powers that be, it's never for anything good. And it's always meant to look like they're the best. And it's usually the complete opposite.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's why it's so hard for me as somebody who knows that to deal with people who don't, who still think that we can trust Rachel Maddow, and we can trust MSNBC and CNN and Fox News and the government and all of those people. Again, I don't know how any grown up with 2 brain cells can still hold that opinion,
Right.
Or still think that these are good people. The propaganda is so, to me, it's obvious. I know that it's not to like the average person, because like we said, they're very busy. They are very good at it in this country. Like, they're very effective at the emotional manipulation and using fear and using all of this stuff to make you think a certain way and buy certain products. And I mean, it really is kind of an art form, honestly, a weird, twisted, psychopathic art form. But they are very good at it. But it's really hard sometimes when I'm, mostly because I'm not very patient. It's hard to deal with people who don't get it, because to me it's so fucking obvious.
Right.
It's so obvious.
So that's kind of part of the thing too, is like, so, I was in the US military. Now I despise it at every level. Right. So there was a point in my life where I at least thought, like, this is a good decision for me and to serve my country and all those bullshit reasons and what have you. And so you got to keep that in mind when you talk to people, when you're of that ilk of, I understand that this is all bullshit. There was a time where I didn't know that. And we all learn at such a different level.
Yeah.
And so
Steve talks about that a lot. Like, everybody's on their own journey, and they're at their own place in their journey. And so we have to meet. And I talk about that too all the time. I'm honestly not always great about doing that. I've like understanding that I need to, you know what I mean? It's hard. I mean, some days I'm better than others. I can tell you for sure I'm better in person than I am online. I have very little patience online.
100%.
I have no patience online. And that's mostly because I deal with like such an incredible level of trolls that if somebody comes at me like with a snarky question or something, I immediately just think that they're a troll and dismiss them as such. I don't have the time. I don't have the time to address all of the trolls. There's just too many. I hope that there was a troll today who said they were going to show up for my show. And I was like, please do, because your engagement helps my show. So please do show up. So I hope they show up. I don't see them in the chat yet. I forget what their name is online, but they were talking about, I think that they said that they work, or they're the newly hired bodyguard or something, security for real progressives, who I don't even like. I've heard of real progressives, but I don't know who the fuck they are. I don't know what they do really. I know that they're like MMT people, but that's about all I know. So he said that I'm like I'm an arch enemy.
Joy was at.
Huh?
That's where Joy, Savage Joy was at before.
Well, I don't think she likes me. I mean, she's been civil to me, but I don't think she likes me, which is fine. I'm not for everybody. But I don't, it's fun. Like, this person was like, you're an arch enemy. And I'm like, wow, really? Like, I've always wanted to be an arch enemy. Like, now I feel like I need like a costume. Like, I need like a super villain costume or something. I can be, I don't know, Super Mindy Moneybags.
Is that the Halloween outfit that you were
I don't know. So I was okay. Yeah. Okay. Chat. My friends in the chat. Wardeer's here. You're creative. I know you can probably. Mad Mom. I know you're creative. We have our oh, Mad Mom. I love you too. We have the Vigil. Our Halloween episode is Friday, and I need a costume. I'm slacking. It's Wednesday, y'all. I don't know what to dress up as. I had a couple. Somebody said I should be a Russian troll. Somebody said I should. Oh, and my friend Kaylee, who I adore, said I should be a grifter, and I already have a shirt that says grifter, and I have my money bags, so I feel like that's an easy costume. But that's like just me dressing up as me, which is, what else? There was some other a pirate, so I can be like pirate, One-Eyed Jack, my cat.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you can get and then like dress him up as a parrot. Right?
Yeah. Oh, because she does sit on my shoulder a lot.
Right.
Somebody said I should be super bitch. Which I like that a lot, actually, because I have my A for A cape, which you were there for that, right? That was the
That was
I made myself a cape. Yep. My trolls made like fun of me, and I'm like, really? Like, my cape is cool. What are you talking about? It's super cool, y'all. I would wear it every day if I could. Yeah, so I don't know. I need a costume though, and we're dressing up. Mad Mom says I like super bitch.
I mean,
yeah, maybe. I'd waited till the last possible minute on that. So yeah, if you guys have ideas, let me know, because I have a day and a half to come up with something. No, like 2 days, because we don't go until 9. So
there you go.
I have like 2 full days. Yeah. So the propaganda.
So you were saying at one point, like they're very good at what they do, and you brought up a few things that I think I started to understand why things are done that way. So after I left the military, I did go back to school, and I started to look at linguistics and understanding, first off, origins of language, because I don't think if we don't understand why we communicate the way we do, like where it came from, we're not going to understand what it is that's happening currently. So I wanted to go all the way back and try to understand origins of language, way like a lot of like other monkeys and apes talk to each other and stuff like that. So as I was learning throughout a lot of this linguistic stuff, term I came across was the illusory truth effect. I don't know if you've ever heard of that at all.
Mm-mm.
So essentially what it is like it regardless of your intelligence, whether you have a high IQ or low IQ, everyone is susceptible to the illusory truth effect. And what it is essentially is if once you hear something enough, true or otherwise, you believe it.
Yeah.
And with that, like what you're talking about with like fear, like that's all news is fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, we begin to believe that we should be on the lookout. We should be fearing anything and everything, whatever is topical in that moment. That's what we should be fearing. And so, once you understand that concept, and once you're like kind of vigilant and like you're hyper focused on trying to understand things that are coming at, like I've heard this word 10 times in the last week, and I hadn't heard it 10 times in the last 10 years. Right. And so, and it can be even common words too. So one thing I've noticed too is like something as simple as a word love. Right. So I go to these protests all the time. I see signs, I see what people say and what they do. Right. So over the last, say 10, 15 years, a word like love was attached to what? It was attached to the gay rights, right? Gay rights, gay marriage. You would see love, love wins, love, all this stuff.
Love is love.
All that stuff attached to gay rights. And if you looked back previous to that, the word love was kind of co-opted, not necessarily in the same sense as it is with like the gay rights community, but you would see that more attached to like the religious community, right? So like love everyone, love your neighbor, like all that stuff, right? So simple words can get co-opted. And now because love has this attachment to gay rights, there's less when you go to like, because I go to all the protests. I go left, right, I don't give a shit. I go to what I think is worth going to.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to these protests that are primarily right wing, I don't ever see the word love ever. And that was kind of their thing for as long as I can remember, up until it was co-opted by the gay rights community.
Yeah. That's super interesting too, because that happens a lot. And it's like a really good example of a way that they use like a certain term. Like it's amazing. I'll just say it, ISIS K, right?
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere, right? A couple
Yeah.
weeks ago, like a month ago, all of a sudden, like everybody for like a week, ISIS K, ISIS K, ISIS K, ISIS K. They needed a distraction away from their complete debacle in Afghanistan.
Right. Right.
And so that was the fear. They used this word, it's ISIS. So immediately people were like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so they use this term, and then it's used as like this distractionary fear, emotional manipulation tool. And it is a really effective thing. And you're right. The more, and I guess I just didn't know the term for it, but the more you repeat something, the truer it becomes. And that's why when there's something like Russiagate, that's all you hear about.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they need you to believe it.
They need you to believe it.
Yes. And so Rachel Maddow will scream at the top of her lungs every single day for 4 fucking years about Putin and Russia, because they need you to believe it. And they know that the more that they repeat it, the more that you'll believe it. And that's really effective on people.
Super effective. And it, like I said, it does not matter. So, when I bring this up to people, it's like, okay, but I don't believe certain things that come. I'm like, that's fine. That's, so everyone has like not everyone, obviously, because I don't fit nicely into the right left.
No, I don't either.
At all. So there are things that you're going to be kind of antennas up about, right? And you're going to look into, but the problem is like, so just because of how things have evolved the last year and a half, 2 years here, is I start communicating more face to face with people who, associate themselves with the right. And so a lot of times we'll agree on these certain topics that are coming up. And then all of a sudden a topic will come up that I do not agree with whatsoever. Cops.
They're starting to change a little bit on that, though. The right's starting to come around.
Really? Because I haven't noticed that. So what have you noticed?
Ever since January 6th,
Really?
when they got their asses kicked by the cops, when they were all standing there like back the blue, Steve and Andrew were there, and they said that they were there allegedly.
I know.
Allegedly they were there, but they said that there was people like Trump supporters like yelling at the cops, "What are you doing? We backed the blue. We thought you were on our side. We thought you had our backs." Like blah blah blah. And so I think that it's slow. I think it's slow, but I think that the right, at least certain pieces of it, are starting to recognize that the cops are not on their side either.
That's interesting, because I still see boatloads. So I'm in suburbs of the Twin Cities, and so you would think, just by judging what you saw on the news, that everyone's blue around here, when you're in the city, of course. As soon as you reach the suburbs, and as soon as you reach the outskirts, it's very red. Just like any city in this country, any city is going to be primary blue, any rural area is going to be primary red. But I still see boatloads of like the thin blue line stickers and anything associated with that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't mean that it's like an overnight they are all on board, but I think they're starting to come around. Like I think that there's a chink in that armor, is what I'm saying. And
I wonder too, because like I haven't had this conversation face to face. I've only had them on Twitter, and you know how those go.
Yeah.
But people who tend to lean right, and I'm like, who do you think is going to take away your guns when that day comes?
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're like, well, I have cop friends who,
doesn't matter.
I'm like, dude, there's cops who all they want is power. And what more power would a cop have than taking guns away from people?
That's most cops. That's why they're cops.
Exactly.
They want the power. That's the kind of person that position attracts, is a power hungry person, somebody who wants that level of authority over others. And so it doesn't matter if you have cop friends. They don't work for you. No. And they know who they work for, and they have been solidly brainwashed to do as they're told. And that's like people I've talked to people before who were like, oh, do you really think that, if it came down to it, our military would like shoot American citizens? A lot, some of them,
Yes,
yes,
I know for a fact.
absolutely.
Yes.
Would some not? Of course. I think that there are some people in the military who are decent people who, like you, maybe went because they couldn't, like they needed to go to college or whatever, and they're just doing their time so that they can get their education and then get the fuck out, right? I think there are those people. But I think for the most part, yes, absolutely. They're trained to follow orders. That is the point. That is the point.
There are military members who are the sole reason they're in the military is because they want to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, that's just reality. The military, also cops, that it attracts a certain level of psychopath. That's just reality. Again, I'm not saying it's everybody, because there's going to be people who come for me. Oh my God, you think all cops are psychopaths? No, I don't think all cops are psychopaths, but I think that there's a large percentage of cops that are psychopaths. Absolutely. I mean, if you just look in LA, the gangs in LA, like there are literal gangs where like you can't enter the gang unless you go kill somebody while you're wearing your badge. Like just shoot somebody, just no cause, just go shoot somebody. I mean, it's like it's a thing. It's no different than in the military. That's where you get your outlet. It's legalized murder.
Yeah, it literally is.
Yeah. And it's fine. Like people like that's what they're there for. Again, there are some people who enter. Right after high school, I dated a guy who ended up going into the military. Not a bad dude, really awesome guy, wanted an education, went into the military. He's still a nice guy. He's very different. He has extreme PTSD. He's a shell of his former self, and it's sad. But he is not a psychopath. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that's why he entered into the military. But I think that there's a large percentage of people who that's why they go.
Well, and I worked in a field where obviously, soldiering was not our top priority, right? So like, especially when I was in the Air Guard, right? There was hardly anyone who I knew that had to even bring a weapon with them when they were deployed, right? They're always on the FOB, the forward operating base. They were, always doing something either logistical or supply or something of that nature. And another thing that people don't understand is that is the bulk of the military, is all of the moving parts. And there's a handful of people who are infantry or some sort of like, artillery or something weaponized, right? They're actually very few. The bulk of it is all the logistical supply and medical and what have you. But I worked in public affairs. I was a broadcast journalist, public affairs specialist, and my job was to obviously get a story, right? And so the other thing about I was in from 2003, January 2003 to January 2013, almost to the day. It was 10 years, and I somehow managed to not go to Iraq or Afghanistan.
Wow.
And I went pretty much everywhere else as a result. So I was lucky as shit, number one.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I didn't see some fucked up shit either.
Right. No, of course.
And I won't go as far as to say as like I have PTSD, but I have things where I look back and I was like, that was fucked up. And I can't believe I saw that with like my own two eyes, and that is now seared in my brain until I'm dead or lose my mind or something.
Yeah. No, I don't know how you could be in that environment and not be fucked up on some level. I mean, I don't mean to imply that you're fucked up. I'm sorry.
No.
But you know what I mean?
No,
Like that's a lot. That's a lot. Like I've talked to Danny Scherzen multiple times.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite people in the whole world to talk to. And the stories that he tells, and again, that's not your experience. He was definitely like combat.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know how you can be in that environment and it not mess with your brain and it not cause a certain level of anxiety and depression. And I think like for him, and I don't mean to speak for him, but I think for him, a lot of it now was like regret and guilt. And a lot of the people that he deals with and speaks to, I think there's a lot of guilt. And I think that those people that we're talking about who are good people and who go into it for the right reasons and who manage to, not let it turn them into a crazy murdering psychopath. I think that's a common thing. They come home, and especially those people who come home and then realize how they were used and what they were used for.
There's a lot of them.
There's
hard. A lot of them, and I for a brief period I got involved in the Libertarian Party, and so myself and this other woman, we organized for our congressional district for our monthly meetings, and we would, as people do or like-minded, we would go off on different tangents on different subjects and things like that. And she said to me once, she's like, "You ex-military guys, you're all conspiracy theorists. Like every single one of you I've met, like you're all like saying like, no, it's not this way, it's this way." And I'm like, yeah, because we experienced shit and then none of it was true what you guys were being told back home.
Yeah. I mean, I think about that a lot. Especially since I met Danny and talked to him, because I can't imagine what that's like to go, especially for somebody like him. He went in for the right reasons. Like he went in to serve his country, to, be of service and to protect our democracy and all of those things that they feed you and they lie to you about. And so for him to go in and then to have the realization that you were lied to, you were used, and then to know what you were used for, and that you were just there to make profit for some billionaire and to steal resources. And I mean, I can't imagine what that feels like. And I say all the time, I do not in any way support the military at all as an institution, at all. But I do support the people who serve in it as individuals and on an individual basis, because like we just said, there are some really terrible people in the military and who are former military. But on an individual basis, like those people who are now dealing with that regret and that guilt, like that's heavy. I don't know if they're like that. I can't think of anything heavier really to know that you were used as like a mass murderer for empire.
And that's the part that right, as a civilian who like pays attention and cares, right? So I spent 10 years doing humanitarian and peacekeeping missions, and on the surface that sounds fine, right?
Sounds great.
Yeah, great. I got a different story to tell you.
Yeah, that's not what that is.
No,
we were talking about language, and Danny talks about language all the time. And I'm so glad you brought up language, because Danny talks about this is turning into like a Danny Shores and Love Fest. And I'm sorry.
He's a great guy. I don't have a problem with that.
He's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
But we talk about language every time, Jesse, because we've interviewed him on Facts on the Ground multiple times. And every time we do, we talk about language because it's so important, the way that language is used, and that in particular, the way that it's used against us. Because that's why it's so effective. Just the way that they're able, and I forget who it was. I believe it was on a Jimmy Dore show one time. It might've been Mike McRae or somebody, I don't know, but they were analyzing they were not analyzing, but they were making fun of some news segment, right? And some guy was on there, and like the first thing that he said was something that was intended to strike fear. And so whoever it was, whether it was Mike McRae or somebody else, was like, well, that's an intentional thing. They do that because if they start, and if you notice, and ever since I heard him say that, I started paying attention. And politicians also often start their speeches with something fear-based, because what that does is it turns your lizard brain on, and then you don't think straight. And so everything else that they say after that, you hear it differently. It strikes you differently. It has a different impact. And that's a fully intentional thing that they do. They make you afraid, and then you're willing to buy what they're selling because you're scared. And it's so effective.
And it's how they represent themselves too. They're wearing a suit and a tie, and they're behind a podium, and they're backed by all these people, and you voted for me, and blah blah blah. And so basically it's like my word is more words with far more water than yours.
Yes.
So you must listen to me. I decided that this is what the subject matter is. This is what we're going to talk about. And so
this is the problem. Here's the solution. They got something to sell you. I mean, that's really all it is. I liken politics to it's a soap opera featuring psychopaths. That's what it is. It is a performance. It's all a performance. If you think that Joe Biden is making decisions on any level, you're a fool. He's not making any decisions. Are you joking me? The dude can barely put together a sentence. I mean,
I don't think Trump is making any decisions.
no president does. It doesn't matter who the fuck is president. It does not matter. I need people to understand that. It does not matter who the president is. It doesn't. They serve the same agenda. We don't have two parties. They're owned and operated by the exact same donors. They're all working towards the exact same agenda. The only thing that changes is the rhetoric. The only thing that changes is the demographic that they pander to. That's it. They have their demographics. They pander to those demographics. They try to get those demographics to fight amongst themselves.
Oh yeah.
And that's it. But they are all working towards the same agenda. There's no question about it. And none of the presidents have any control.
I ask the right wingers all the time. I'm like, how did all this COVID stuff get introduced? Who was president? Who was, he was supposed to drain the swamp. Fauci was still in there.
Dude, anybody who thinks that Donald Trump was going to drain the swamp or was going to work for you, he is a spoiled brat. He's part of the club. He has been his whole fucking
He was a Clinton
life.
donor.
He's like distant cousins with Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton had him run for president. He went they go to each other's weddings. Like they're not anybody who thinks that Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell despise each other. You're an idiot. No, they're don't.
Fist bumping each other on the floor of the Senate.
Yes, they don't hate each other. Maybe they don't I'm not saying that they're best friends, but they don't hate each other. They work together. They go to the same parties. They go to the same dinners. They go to the same vacation spots. They are in an insulated club, and there are cliques within that club. I'm not saying that they all get along. I'm not saying AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene are going shopping together. But it's not the combative stuff.
See that though. If that's a reality show, I'd watch that.
No, I would not watch that shit. Oh my God, that would be so annoying. That would be annoying beyond I don't think I could survive it. Honestly, I think that might be enough to kill me. That might be enough to kill me. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, Lord, those are two of the most annoying people on planet Earth. Seriously. Lord. Good Lord. It's all theater. It is all theater. And Trump supporters, please. I'm sure that there are some of you watching because I kind of have some people out there on the right but you got Obama'd. And I need you to take a deep breath. Yeah. Come to terms with that and move the fuck on. Yeah. You got Obama. He was never going to fight for you. He didn't do shit for you. What promises did he fill? Please tell me. Nothing. He did nothing for you. And then he cowered before the establishment. He did as he was told for the most part. Yes, he told some occasional truths, which is honestly a bright spot to his presidency. That he just had no capability for subtlety and would sometimes just blurt shit out oh, we're going to go take their oil. He wasn't supposed to say that, but he's dumb. So he just said it. And that's a little tiny bright spot in his presidency that he sometimes told the truth. But that dude didn't care about you. He still doesn't care about you. He's not ever going to care about you. Ever. You got Obama'd. Just deal with it, please.
I love that. I hadn't heard you got Obama'd before. I love that. If you've said that before and I missed it, I've
said it on Twitter a few times. I've tried because I know that I do have some people on the right who follow me on Twitter. I know that I have some people on the right that are probably watching right now. There are some people who would say that that's a problem and I should be ashamed of that. I think it's great. I think it's great. If somebody on the right wants to come and listen to me go off about leftist ideas and talk about, free speech and ending the wars and healthcare and please, I'm on board with that. Again, I live in small town Ohio. I'm surrounded by Trump voters. Yeah. They're not bad people, generally speaking. Are some of them casually racist? Yes. Is that a problem? Absolutely. Will I call them out if I ever hear it? Every single time. Right. But they're not.
Trump supporters call out other ones too.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're not all casually racist, but some of them are, and it is a problem. And I will always, every time call it out when I see it, or when I hear it. But they're not inherently bad people. They are people who have been screwed over by the system and who have been propagandized by different people to be mad at the wrong things and the wrong people. And that's, it seems, I talk about this all the time. It seems really self-defeating for any leftist to dismiss anybody to the right of Bernie Sanders as an irredeemable racist. We are losing people to the far right because of that attitude.
Yeah.
We could be winning those people over. They agree with us on a lot. On a lot.
And that's a message I try to. So I end up talking to a lot of right-leaning people. And the thing I constantly try to tell them is like, for your movements, you got to stop politicizing them. You got to stop politicizing them, because you would be surprised how much in common you have with people that you're told that you're supposed to despise. Once you start getting them from behind the keyboard and talking to them face to face, and talking, don't fucking debate.
Right.
It's talking. It's like, what do we have in common? Where can we, meet somewhere?
And that's why I don't like labels too, though, because once you label yourself, it shuts off a percentage of people who, just because they hear that you're a communist or a socialist or a progressive or a leftist or a liberal, they will immediately shut down because they've been told that those are the people that they have to fear and that they have to hate.
The corporate media, who they're supposed to hate.
But that's an effective propaganda tool.
It is.
And they divide us into our camps, and then they convince us that we have to hate each other, and we do, and then they win. And so, but I always get like people constantly, oh, well, you're a red brown and you want to work with Nazis, y'all. There is a whole lot of space in between Bernie Sanders and literal Nazis.
Yes,
there's a lot of people in there. Whole lots of people, millions and millions and millions of people who, again, we are losing to the far right because they're pissed off and they're looking for somewhere to go. And the left sneers at them and looks down on them and dismisses them as like this scum of the earth. And the far right's like, come on over. We're family over here. Come on over. We're losing a lot of people.
It was amazing. Go ahead, Sleepy.
Go ahead, Sleepy.
All the left did is stop me voting anymore. I don't vote anymore because of the left. I'm done.
Yeah.
You can't work with other people. You're not going to get shit. Sorry.
No, and they're like infantile. It's so infantile. God, and I don't mean to be like, this is me being like dismissive. I'm trying to help. Honestly, I'm just trying to help. It's so infantile. It's really self-defeating. You're not helping your cause in any way. And again, I've said this before. There are some people on the left who I am convinced are more concerned about feeling smugly superior than they are about getting anything done. They just want to feel superior in some way.
I think that goes for both
for sure.
sides. Yeah.
I'm just speaking like because I'm a leftist. That's what I have experience with.
Yeah.
And there's like a whole lot of people on the quote unquote left who they don't actually want to get anything done. They just want to feel better than somebody else. And I don't give a shit about that. Like I'm not here for that. I don't care about your ego. I don't care about my ego. I am beyond willing to put my ego to the side. Like I have a troll who claims to be an Assange supporter, right? And she's mad because about a year and a half ago, I said she was acting like a Fed, because she regularly tries to create division.
Oh, I think I know who this is.
Yeah, she's a piece of shit. Like, I'm just gonna say it. She's a piece of shit. But she regularly tries to cause division and distraction. Like last night, join us. It's like hours before court, right? Hours, and she spent her time smearing me. What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's
that's Fed behavior. You know what I'm saying? Let's Fed-like behavior. If you're trying to cause distraction and division between Assange supporters, like literally 6-7 hours before a crucial court date, you're a piece of shit. Like I don't have time for you. But she regularly says that like I'm a grifter who's only concerned about personally benefiting myself. Are you joking me? Are you kidding me? Like, I don't even want to talk. Like, I really feel bad even talking about it because it feels like I'm patting myself on the back. But I've
learned so much more from people like yourself and Steve and Andrew about Assange than I ever did from anyone else.
Well, and I hate talking, like big upping myself. It makes me uncomfortable. But on a regular basis, I turn down interviews and because I'm like, I can get you somebody cooler. You know what I mean? Like Ryan Knight had, like, I was just on Ryan Knight's show. He had to persuade me to come on because I'm like, when he first started covering Assange, which this person says that my approach turns people off and that I'm too harsh and that I'm mean to people. And that's true. Like I'm absolutely an asshole sometimes. I'm hard on Kyle Kalinske because he thinks doing 1 8-minute video every 6 months is sufficient. And I don't, and I'm going to be hard on him. I don't care if you like my approach. Like everybody's got their own thing. That's my approach. You can like me or not, whatever. But when Ryan Knight he asked me when he first started covering Assange to come on his show. And I said, no. I said, I will give you a list of people who are far more adept at talking about this. Who he ended up having Marjorie Cohn on, who I suggested to him. But he told me when we did the interview that it was because of me and because of me pestering him that he covered Assange. And so you don't have to, I even have a tweet about this. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like my approach. I'm right. And people should be talking about Julian Assange. So you can tell me to fuck off, but follow that with free Assange. You know what I'm saying?
That's the most crucial thing that I think that you and a lot of the people that you're associated with do is like just bringing light to it. Because like I said, like I care about the stuff that I think should be cared about, which is the stuff that's not under the spotlight, and it just bringing awareness to it is the could be the catalyst. It may not be for a lot of people, but for someone like me, and I'm sure there's plenty of other examples like me that like I kind of knew what was going on with Assange, but not really. And then once, I started listening to some of Steve's stuff when he was doing it during the trial. This was over a year ago because I met
the September stuff.
Something that sounds that. And when I started that's when I started to find out about like he was in the embassy for 7 years, and then like what Belmarsh is. Like I didn't know this stuff.
Yeah.
And like if I didn't go and look at some of the stuff that you guys are putting out, I don't know where I would have found it, to be honest.
Yeah. No, and again, I don't like big upping myself. But she trashes A4A on a regular basis, and I will not fucking stand for that. I will not. She can come for me. That's fine. I don't give a shit. But the people who started A4A, who continually work on A4A, and it's not a lot of people. Like we're like right now it's me and Andrew basically. But there are other people who have over the years worked on stuff. Paula's helped us with stuff. Kimber's helped us with stuff. Sleepy Josh was our tech guy for like a year and a half, 2 years. Steve was a part of it. Taylor Hudak was part of it. Like there are people who have put a lot of time and energy and effort. I mean, we've been doing this for like 121 weeks. And to say that I'm doing that for personal benefit, do you have any idea the number of hours I have put into researching and studying and trying to learn the English legal system and the British legal system and trying to figure out how learning special administrative measures keeps me up at night. The fact that I know that that's a thing, that keeps me up at night. Learning about what happened to Khalid Al-Masri and the torture that he went through after he was renditioned, after mistaken identity, they didn't even have the right dude. Like that shit keeps me up at night. There's no personal benefit to that. Are you joking? Like I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours away from my children, away from my family. Yeah. I have driven back and forth to DC, 6.5 hours back and forth to DC numerous times to protest and spent time away from my kids and my family. I'm sorry. Like I'm going on and on about this and I hate talking about myself, but it just pisses me off.
No, you're right, dude. I mean, I did it for 2 years and like I burned out hard. Like it wasn't
brutal.
Fun. Like I had a rough 3 months when I walked away, just like regaining some
your
sense
sanity
of and not being depressed all the time. Like it was rough.
I'm not lying. Yes, Mad Mom, you're right. Absolutely. I'm putting that up there because you're absolutely fucking right. On my dime.
Yes.
Let's not forget that.
Yes, that is one of the most crucial points.
Yes. And I can get my husband down here. He gets pissed. We have spent an ton of money.
I won't even go into what my server bill was.
I'm not even going to talk about the amount of money I've spent driving back and forth to DC and the amount of money I've spent on supplies and on, are you joking? Are you kidding me? Yes. It's not. There's no personal benefit. It's psychologically damaging. And that's like, I'm not being overly dramatic. Sleepy Josh can attest to it. It fucking sucks. I mean, if you guys watch the vigil, we're not talking about sunshine and rainbows. We're
Oh,
talking
no.
about war crimes and the torture of journalists. And, it's not fun. It's not fun. Do we have the occasional fun show where we just goof off? Yes, because we fucking have to, or we would go like just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And there are times that I feel like I'm going to lose my mind. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding when I say that when we do an episode where we're talking about special administrative measures, or when we're going to be doing an episode on Friday where we talk about the hearings that are happening today and tomorrow, and that's going to suck because we're going to have to talk about Julian Assange's mental health. There was, before the hearing started, there was like 2 weeks where we were all like, we should really do an update, do an update episode about special administrative measures and talk about Julian Assange's mental health again. And we just kept like putting it off and putting it off and putting it off because nobody wanted to talk about it. It sucks. It's so hard. It's brutal.
Echo.
It's brutal. What?
We're getting gnarly echo.
Are we still getting it? I don't hear it.
I do barely, but
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. Just to let you know.
I didn't hear anything. Hey, chat, Mad Mom, do you hear echo? Can you guys hear an echo? Anybody? Bueller? I don't hear it. But yeah, just talking about that stuff. Oh, I hear it a little bit. Mad Mom hears it. It's not me. I have headphones. Yay, me.
fuck it.
Yeah, whatever.
Should I be wearing headphones?
It helps, but I mean, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
I don't hear it. I don't think it's bad. Real heroes do wear capes. I'm not a hero.
Money bags and
yeah.
they
I carry my money bags and I wear my cape. Yeah. Yeah, y'all, it is. I mean, it really is. I'm not that's not bullshitting. I'm not it sucks. So no, there's no personal gain to this. I'm not doing it for my own personal benefit. I oftentimes turn stuff down because I feel like I was just on that ACLU panel with Chris from Capital University, with Gabriel Shipton and Juan Passarelli and Stephen, I think it's Rode. I had no business being there. I told Chris, I tried multiple times to get out of that. I tried to replace myself with Deepa Driver. Chris was having no part of it. He wanted me to be on the panel. He wasn't going to let me out of it. I tried. I tried to get out of that shit. Yeah, but it's not there's no personal benefit. I'm not here for personal benefit. If I was, I would be grifting. I would be trying to make money off of this. I would be trying to we would be A4A doesn't even accept donations unless we're planning an action.
You would have a fancy studio like Kyle Kalinske if you were grifted.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not I don't care that Kyle Kalinske makes money. I think people should be compensated for their work. That's just not why I got into it. So I've never and that's much my husband argues with me all the time. You put so many hours into this, you should get paid for it, blah 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 blah. And but it's that aspect has always made me a little bit uncomfortable. And maybe that is because I've internalized I didn't want to be called a grifter, and yet here I am being called a grifter anyway, despite the fact that none of my channels have ever been monetized, not once. I have a Patreon, but I created it because one specific person asked me to do so, and he is still to this day my only patron, and I don't publicize that I have. I guess I just did, but I've never asked anybody to become a patron.
I had no idea that you had one, to be honest.
I don't tweet about it. I don't ask. It's not what it's, you know what I mean? It's not ever been a thing. Facts on the ground. We don't, Jesse and I, when we first started, we're that's not what we're really here for. We've talked about it since then because Jesse doesn't have health insurance. So, and we would love to get Jesse some lighting, and we would love to get Jesse a better microphone, and we would love to, my husband got me a nice microphone. I had nice lighting because I like to take pictures. So many years ago, my mom got me lights, photography lights for Christmas. So I have gifts that I was able to use, but I would love for Jesse to have health insurance. You know what I'm saying? Right. So we've talked about potentially monetizing, maybe, but both of us have always felt a little bit uncomfortable because that's not we don't ever want that to be why we're doing it.
No,
do you know what I'm saying?
As far as YouTube, it paints a fucking target on your back.
It does, and we want to fly under the radar. Well, I mean, maybe not even monetizing, but having a Patreon for facts, or having somewhere where people can donate or whatever. mostly just so we can get better equipment and stuff.
Yeah.
It would mostly go back into the show, but I don't know. It's like I think there's a really, and I've talked about this before, in independent media, there's a real threat where, yeah, you're not owned by corporations, but once you start getting donations and that then becomes your source of income, it then I think, and I don't even think it's like a conscious thing, but I think that you start to like change the way you cover things so that you
I definitely see that
to a broader
when people
base.
start to make like actual money doing this, their entire show, their entire flow, their entire everything becomes more about, because now I have to hear about fucking dick pills and like whatever other stupid advertisements you have to read, and like I don't want to hear about that stuff. Like that's half the reason why I don't watch.
Like, the donations you're getting from then people, I think that in like subconsciously, you're then afraid to talk about certain things because you don't want to alienate anybody. You want to continue that money coming in. You don't want to turn off any potential donors. So you start to change the way you cover things, change the things that you're willing to talk about.
Exactly.
And I honestly think that for some people, it's definitely intentional. I think some people are legitimate grifters and they know exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
But I think for a lot of people, it's just a subconscious thing where, oh, well, now I have to pay my bills with this. And I don't want to piss anybody off. So I'm not going to talk about Julian Assange, and I'm not going to talk about, you know what I mean? Like I think that that's like, you're right, Mad Mom, self-censoring. It's like a self-censoring thing where, you want to appeal to the broadest base of people because now your income is based on that. And I don't ever want to get to that point where I'm self-censoring in any way. I get so angry when I self-censor.
Oh yeah. And like, I do it a ton on, even on Twitter. I do a ton of self-censoring, I
do too.
Because one, I don't want to get kicked off, right? Because I've been suspended here and there for like, what's that mustache fucker? The war. Oh Jesus Christ! I can't think of the dude's name.
Oh, are you talking about the Death Walrus, John Bolton?
Yeah, I like told John Bolton to fucking die, and I got suspended for a week, and so it's things like that where it's just like, I told a guy to die who's like, the architect for 1,000,000 dead Iraqis,
like a legitimate scumbag. Yeah. How dare you? It's okay for them to like advocate for war and bombing and stuff on Twitter. But if you tell those people to fuck off and die, then you get suspended.
Yeah, then you get suspended because
dude, we're getting suspended on Slow News Day for like fucking 6 to 9 month old videos, dude. Like we've been
on YouTube,
the last couple of months for it. Like
YouTube's going back in time.
Start the show off on YouTube and then go the fuck over to Rockfin because you can't talk on YouTube anymore without getting fucked with.
Yeah, we can. I think a lot of people need to start moving to Rumble too. I think that's a potential other. I mean, we have to like. I need to get on multiple other platforms. We all need to get on multiple. We need to get your ass on
Odyssey too. Like,
I know. I'm just so.
What I keep telling everyone is don't rely on fucking YouTube. Like
I know. I'm very scatterbrained.
I'm not talking about for money or anything, but like if you want your message out there, diversify on as many platforms as you possibly can get on.
Yeah.
100%.
For sure. I self-censor on Twitter too. Yes, because I don't want to get kicked off. But also because if you guys think the things that I tweet are mean, you should see my draft folder. You should see it.
Oh, I definitely start typing and then halfway through delete.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of like half-written tweets where I'm like getting ready to like I'm halfway through and I'm like, Jesus, that's brutal. You need to just slow down.
Yeah.
Rethink. Because I'm out of patience on Twitter. I tried to be patient on Twitter. I'm done. I have no more. But and I'm not a very patient person to begin with. I'm not mean in person. Like I mean, I'm really not. Like I'm actually quite lovely. Like I'm very nice.
Well, when I met you in DC, I think I introduced myself as Coy Contrarian because that's the only name you would have ever known me by anyway.
Yeah.
But I introduced myself and I'm like, hey, because I think I had like reached out to you a couple different times, like, I'm going to head out to DC and meet you guys or whatever. And you're like, oh, I have to give you a hug. And I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like I know how I come across on Twitter, and that is me. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I am 100% the same as I am on Twitter. Impatient and brutal and like honest. Like, I'm very blunt. Which people in my real life complain about on a regular basis. Which I like growing up, everybody's like, oh, well, honesty is the best policy. They don't mean that. They don't mean that. They mean the truth that they want to hear is the best policy. People tell me all the time I'm too honest. What the fuck does that even mean? You can be too honest? I didn't know that. But apparently you can. So yeah, I am that person, but I'm also like super loyal and I'm not like just a constant asshole all the time, which is probably how I come across on Twitter. At least to some people.
But that isn't that just it with social media though? Is like we are not who we are when we're behind the keyboards, like at all. And that's part of the thing that I've been thinking about is like how do we change social media to be what it is supposed to be, and that is an exchange of ideas, right? And it could be a lost cause because it's been 15 years of fighting either with strangers or your family members on Facebook and Twitter, right? But there's got to be a solution of sorts that can happen. I see glimmers of it from time to time, from various groups like Rome and from like Magnus, who like are always talking about working with people who are have different opinions and who are and then actually do something within the community to make things better. You see smatterings like that. But
Afeni does great work. Liv.
Yeah.
No, I'm not an Aquarius. I'm a Capricorn.
But like I'm back in school, and I recently wrote a paper, I forget what the topic was, but at the bottom I was saying like there needs to be a unity movement. And my instructor was like, oh, that's a bold, like a cool thing to request, in this current climate. And I'm just like, man, doesn't that just speak volumes that like we've lost kind of, if you think about it, the whole point of the US, right? Which is unity amongst people who come from different backgrounds. That's really disappointing that we are so far removed from that, where an instructor at a university is going to be like, oh, unity movement, good luck, buddy.
It's sad.
They managed to turn that unity, and the only unity we have left is we're all a bunch of war whores.
Yeah.
Like we're unified we're unified when someone bombs us and we want to fucking take out half the fucking Middle East.
And what's really telling is that if a politician's numbers are down, if their approval ratings are down, they start a war. That's how they get their approval. What does that say about us? Like, that's so depressing to me that's what we unify behind. Like, that's what we get excited about. It's gross, y'all. Like this country is so fucked up. Like, I don't know how we fix that shit. It's so far gone. We are so far gone.
I don't know, man. Like, ever since they stopped showing all the dead people on television,
and we've talked about that with Danny. They they learned so much from Vietnam. They learned so much 100%. From Vietnam. You will never see the caskets come home again. There will never be journalists embedded in the, you know what I mean? Like, there will never be on the best you will get is Anderson Cooper 15 miles away in his tiny black t-shirt on a balcony of like a 5-star hotel pretending he's in a war zone. Like, that's the best you're going to get as far as war coverage.
I forget the name.
Brian Williams coming over bombs.
Yeah. You'll get to see the bombs taking off. You will not get to see the devastation when they land.
I forget the name of the documentary, but there was a documentary made several years ago now. I don't know if it's 10 years old yet, by a Marine journalist. And just the amount of destruction, the unintended destruction, when they were, infiltrating different parts. I think it was Afghanistan that this guy was in. That just, those were the images that people were watching in the 60s and 70s during Vietnam that exist. They totally exist. They went on for far longer. And they're not, no one is really aware of what goes on. And let's not forget, Afghanistan, Iraq, but also Sudan, also what happened in Libya, Syria,
all over Africa.
All over Africa. People don't understand that we have ground troops in multiple countries in Africa all the time. And what is it for? Resources. It's for metals. It's for, everything that, unfortunately, I need to run this computer so I can talk to you.
Well, and not just that, control. They want to have control over that geopolitical space.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like we want to be the world's not bodyguard, but like the world's, we really just want control over everything. And so that's why we have over 1,000 bases. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Russia has like what, 1, 2, 3 bases maybe? Can you imagine if Russia put a base on the like US China or US Canada border?
Well, one of my favorite memes ever is it's a map. It's Iran is centrally located, and then all the American flags around it identify all the military bases around it. And then the caption is, why did Iran put their country next to all of our military bases?
And that's our attitude too.
Yeah,
that's exactly our attitude. It's this weird, and that's another this weird American exceptionalism that is like ingrained in us from the day we're born. We are taught that like we are the good guys. What we do is right and just and necessary, and so everybody just believes that. So if we're bombing somebody, we think that it must be the right thing to do.
And that's going back to what you were saying too about all these troops that are lied to, who are told like you're these heroes for going and defending freedom, and then they're like, I didn't defend freedom one moment in my entire 10-year career, right? I hold half truths is basically is what I did. I propagandized different things so that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to get into, is because I wasn't in war and because I got involved in these humanitarian and peacekeeping missions. And it's so funny because like preparing for the show, I went to try to find all of my old stuff and it's all gone. All from like all the stuff I submitted. Because what happens is, so when you're on mission as a journalist, you submit your stuff to your higher ups, and they submit it to, there's like a database in Maryland that holds like all of like your different imagery, videos, all the articles you write, and then it becomes public domain, and then different. So airforce.gov can take it, but then so can this this media outlet in Ohio can use it too, like if it pertains to whatever it is that we're talking about, right? Where the hell was I going with this?
All your stuff is gone. Like you went to go find all your stuff.
Oh yeah,
and everything was
so like one of the first things I did when I was in the Air Guard was I covered our civil engineer team went down to the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona. So a lot of people forget about this. So the border wall was being built back in 2006, 2007 during Bush.
It's a fence.
Yeah, a fence. It's pretty massive.
Yeah.
But so what happened was they assigned National Guard civil engineer teams to build the wall. That's how it was built. So for 2 weeks, our civil engineers from our airlift wing went down there in March of 2007. And so my only purpose of being there was to get footage, imagery, and write up a few stories and some press releases on how well they were doing and how quickly, and this and that and the other thing, right? So it was myself, and then I had a videographer with me. And our transportation was the Border Patrol. And so the Border Patrol was this wealth of knowledge that we couldn't use. We couldn't use any of this information that we're getting from the Border Patrol. So one of the things that really stood out to me was at one portion. So there's like a main wall, which is like they use like steel from old Navy ships and like would solder them together, and they stood, I don't know if it was like 12 feet high or maybe taller. It was pretty tall. And then there was a secondary fence, what you're referring to.
Yeah.
It's like, something you could actually like climb up. So anyway, the main border wall, there was a portion where it was being built where there was a guy who had dual citizenship in Mexico and the US. So what he did is he raised his cattle in Mexico and then brought them over to the US to sell. So since he had dual citizenship, what they had to do, this was part of the whole structure of it, they had to make a sliding door for him so that he could get his cattle to go across the border, right? So the Border Patrol is telling us, and they're like, this is going to be chaos, because all that has to happen is for some of these drug lords and some of these smugglers to find out that there's a wall with access with a door, and they're like, hey, this is now our door, and we're going to gain access through you. And they're like, this is going to be, I have no idea how it turned out, because we were there 2 weeks and then left. But they're like, these are things that I'm like, this is important, and I can't put this in what I'm writing.
Yeah.
I can only talk about how well our civil engineers are doing building this border wall.
Yeah. And that's what's so crazy about the way that our media works. And I don't know, WikiLeaks did a fantastic job of exposing the corruption within our mainstream media in 2016 in the Clinton and Podesta, or the DNC and the Podesta leaks, because there's like a list of 60 plus journalists who were like going to dinner parties with the Clinton campaign. Like Glenn Thrush, for example, who's like a respected journalist, it was caught in those emails to the DNC. He literally sent them an article before he published it, and prefaced it by saying, I realize that this makes me a gigantic hack, but here's this article. Look it over and tell me if there's anything you want changed. And he's not the only one that was caught doing that. There's other examples. But it's crazy. That's why people talk about fighting fascism all the time. We live in it.
Oh yeah.
We live in it. Our government is completely under corporate capture. Our media is completely under corporate capture. We have no control. We are fucked. You know what I'm saying? Like we are there. Like we're there. You're not fighting fascism. You're living in it. We're living in it. And I think that's why I've like the Julian Assange thing became so important to me, because I saw how crucial the fight against narrative management really is.
It really is.
That's how they're able to sell us all of these wars. That's how they're able to keep us divided and fighting amongst ourselves, rather than, I said this on Ryan's show the other day. We're so busy fighting amongst ourselves. Like, Julian Assange said this before. All of our arguments over ideologies don't mean shit. We don't even know the truth. How the fuck are you going to fight over ideology when you don't even know what's going on? You have no idea. And we're so busy fighting amongst ourselves. And we need to deal with the system that's designed to kill us all. And then we can fight, then we can have those conversations. You have no power. You have no control. Your ideology means jack fucking shit. Yeah. It doesn't mean a damn thing. Nothing. You have no power, no control. You're never going to get anything that you want passed. Nothing you care about is ever. Are you joking? Like I don't know. And that's what frustrates me, is that it couldn't be more apparent at this point. There's been the Princeton study where we live under an oligarchy, but it really has gotten so bad that I honestly don't know that there's a way out at this point, other than just the empire is going to fall. It's going to be brutal.
It will.
Brutal. Like, we've never seen anything. It's going to be historically brutal. Like, other empires have fallen. The United States is by far the largest empire the world has ever seen. Yeah. And it is going to crash hard, and it's going to suck for a lot of people. A lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to get hurt. And that's terrifying, but I don't know if it's salvageable at this point. I really don't. Like, that's I supported Bernie Sanders in 2016 hesitantly. Like, I was cautiously optimistic. I knew who he was. Like, I knew he wasn't Bernie Sanders from like the 70s and the 80s, right? I knew who he was. But I also thought, well, maybe this might be our last chance to swing it back in the other direction just a little bit, that we can like prevent heading over the cliff. Dude had no intention of actually fighting.
Zero.
Zero intention. Like that was I made the mistake of thinking that he might be willing to put up a little bit of a
He
fight.
convinced a lot of people, including myself, that he was
had
gonna
no
he was gonna do it.
intention, none whatsoever. And that's why like so many people held on to Bernie after 2016. And after 2016, I was fucking done with him. I was fucking done
You're
with that
still
dude.
holding on to that piece
I
of
know
shit.
people still get mad at me for talking shit about Bernie Sanders. Y'all, he took millions of dollars from hardworking people and walked off the field and then endorsed and gaslit you for the human embodiment of everything that he claims to stand against.
And then
now he's
tweets bullshit.
capitulating at every turn. At every like, look at the Build Back Better bill and the Jordan Chariton the other day was like, "Oh, where are all the people who are always so angry at the squad because they never fight? Look, they're standing up like for this 3.5 billion, and they've already like caved. It's already down to like 1.7 now. Okay, Jordan, yeah, where was I? I was being realistic about the fact that they were not standing up.
Dude,
they were not fighting back.
That bill is
it's garbage. That bill is garbage.
Terrible.
It's garbage.
I haven't looked at that one at all.
It's
I looked
garbage.
at those other
It's,
ones.
it's bad.
Reading,
You should
it's
watch
Shadowban Refugee did a dive with I think Franco.
Shadowban Refugee, and like Allie was just on Franco. She did a good job of breaking it down.
Okay.
But a bunch of people, it's a garbage bill. But I'm just saying that like Jordan was like the bill's terrible, but he was like, oh look, they're standing up, they're fighting for this bill. No, they weren't. No, they weren't, and they didn't. And he's never going to apologize for that shit. He's never like I was right again. He was wrong
where's
again.
Is Flushing Flint done yet? It's been 6 months since I harassed him last time.
No, he gets mad when you harass him too. He gets like really defensive about it. Well, then fucking put out your documentary. You like fundraise, like bragging about this documentary.
The point of the documentary was to fucking get more boots on the ground. It's been like 2 years.
They still have poison water, Jordan.
Yeah.
Their water's still poison.
I'm sorry you wanted to shop it out, buddy, and make a little more money, you piece of shit.
Yeah. No, he said he wants to get more, like a bigger outlet so it gets more coverage. I don't think Flint gives a shit. They just want it out there. They just, like, you have a decent sized platform on social media. Put it out for free, fucker. Put it out for free. I mean, what the fuck? Sorry, he makes me really angry. He comes at me all the time because he thinks that I'm so mean. Oh, you're just so mean to the squad. Fuck you, dude. They're not doing shit. And yeah, I'm fucking mean. And yes, I'm pissed off. And I'm
fuck you, Jordan. I gave you money and you fucking reneged on your deal. So
well, I'm confused why he's not pissed off. Anybody who gets mad at me or like Jimmy Dore because we yell too much and we're too angry. Why are you not angry? Do you not see what's happening around you? Like, why are you not? I'm disgusted.
And regardless of if a politician is doing their job or not, you should never be friends with them. You should never hold them up to any kind of high standard. You should always, they're a public servant. You should always hold them accountable for everything they do. You should never be, calling them heroes and all this bullshit.
No.
The only thing that they should be doing is fighting for you, and none of them are.
No, not even a little bit. I mean, Jordan will pretend that they are. Ryan Grimm likes to pretend that they are. They're not. And what's worse is that they are cozying up to the people that they claimed they were going to fight. When the squad got elected, when they were running, the whole point was we're going to go and we're going to fight the Democratic establishment. Please show me one time where that has happened. One time. I'll wait. I will wait. I'll be waiting for a very long time, but I'll wait.
I defer to caucus leadership on that.
Mama Bear, Auntie Nancy. What the fuck is that? Are you joking? She covered up a torture program. She lied us into the Iraq war. She's a fucking monster, and she's Auntie Nancy? Fuck out of here. Fuck all the way out of here with that shit. That is so gross. It's gross beyond measure. I can't even comprehend the level of disgusting that you have to be to cozy up to somebody like Nancy Pelosi. If like Bernie
goddamn Crypt Keeper.
Yes, Bernie Sanders calling Joe Biden his good friend. If Joe Biden is your good friend, you need better friends. You need better friends. He's a fucking war criminal. Nancy Pelosi is a war criminal. Like that. We didn't like fight and yes, I can include myself in this because yes, I donated to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I fucking despise myself for it now. But again, cautiously optimistic. I was trying to, I was willing for like 2 years. I gave the reform people, okay, I'll try. Like, well, okay, all right. Well, I didn't think it was going to work, but okay, we'll do it. I'm out of that patience, and y'all fought to get her elected, and she's Mama Bear. What the fuck, y'all? And she doesn't like never points out the corruption within the Democratic Party. Every once in a while, she'll like tap-toe around it, but she never like directly calls out. How about we call out Nancy Pelosi for insider trading? How about we call out? You know what I mean? Like, no, they're never going to do that. They're never going to do that. That's not why they're there. They're there for personal gain. That's your grifter. There's your grifter. Yes. That's the grifter. That, not me. That.
Yeah, I've spent a little bit of time around politicians, like actually around them, like, so working in public affairs full time for the state. I had to be, not had to, but I worked around Tim Pawlenty. He was the governor at the time. He ran for president at one point and failed miserably. And there was other politicians that we would work with from time to time, and you could almost feel like an aura of like, when you go to a used car lot and like how just immediately like this guy's so full of shit. They carry that aura, and what's the ones who are really good at it, you kind of get almost hypnotized by it, right? And so since I had some experience with that, so in 2009, I was on a humanitarian mission in Central and South America and the Caribbean. And one of our stops was in Haiti. And so during one of the days that we were there, I was the videographer and I was with a photographer. And Hillary was coming to one of our locations that day that we were out. So we were briefed by her staff ahead of time, right? So one of her staff comes up to us and is like, hey, just to let you guys know, Hillary doesn't like, she must have said Mrs. Clinton. Mrs. Clinton doesn't like having her backside photographed. She finds it unflattering. That's what we were told. So we're both in full uniform, and I was in the Army, he was in the Navy. So that's what we were told. We're like, and so she walks away. I turn and look at him. He looks at me, and I'm like, well, now of course we're gonna get her backside. Are you kidding me?
Jack's right here, war dear. I just had her. Come here, Jack. Continue. Sorry.
So I was able to find. It's about a little less than 4 minute clip. Oh, look at Jack.
Jack, you're so cute, little nugget.
So I was able to find a 4 minute clip that I still had from all those years ago. God, I can't believe it's 12 years ago now or whatever.
Play that shit. Can we play that shit, Sleepy Josh?
Yeah.
Or can I do that? Or do you do that? What do I do?
And just kind of what I wanted to describe as we're watching this is just her aura when she got there. So this is a medical site, right? So people are getting like their eyes checked, ears checked.
Careful.
And she comes in this huge caravan, right? So there's all these Suburbans, and nobody knows which one she's in, right? So it's van, Suburban.
She's very important here.
Yeah.
She's very
important. I think she was Secretary of State at the time.
Oh, the sight of her makes me sick.
And when you're seeing it with your own eyes, right? When you're there, every facial expression, every hand gesture, everything is, concocted. That's what a professional politician is there's not a genuine smile, look. There's nothing to describe anything that you find as a genuine person.
They're incredibly inauthentic. Like there's nothing real about any, and this goes for like your favorites. It's not just Hillary Clinton. I think that there's some of Bernie Sanders that's a little bit of authentic, some, but I think like AOC completely manufactured. 100%
now look at this
manufactured.
is exactly what I'm talking about. So like see those facial movements. She doesn't give a shit about Haitians who need their eyes
No.
checked. Like that's the most disingenuous smile, that
I mean,
you can have.
this is the lady who laughed at Gaddafi getting
Right.
Became
killed
we
by
saw he
sodomy
died.
with
Yeah.
a bayonet, dude. Like, she's evil, man.
Yeah, she is evil.
It's pure evil.
She is evil. I'm sorry, Rob. Rob's saying, why do we have to be visually abused by this disgusting wretch? Sorry, Rob.
And I get it. Like everyone's seen video of Hillary. Like
No, but it's important for people to see this and to recognize the game that's being played.
Yeah.
Because it is a game. This is a game to them.
And
this is all about their own personal agenda.
It really is. So I can't. So I'm trying to see which one. So the guy in the Navy, not him, the guy who just gestured, but the other guy standing next to him, or her rather. So he was the commander of the ship that we were on. Very masculine dude. The moment she showed up, he it's almost like he became completely demasculated.
Well, he has to defer to her. He has to make her feel like she's the important one. Do you know what I mean? So he has to lower himself.
I mean, just like the hands behind the back, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, walk normal.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing I noticed too. Like they're talking to her, they're saying all these things about the operation that's going on there, and she's got all these subtle head nods, like I'm listening to you, and she's not fucking listening. Are you kidding me?
And you know what's funny is that's all practiced.
Oh,
like
100%.
This is a thing that they have to teach. You know what I mean? Like it's a practiced thing. It's like you get an acting coach. Like politicians very often have acting coaches. That's a real thing.
Every word is crowdsourced or not crowdsourced, but that every
poll tested and committee approved.
Yes. I mean, like every word and every speech is written and rewritten and retested and they do all those that's when you because I've done a little bit of like acting and stuff like that, and you can tell those hand movements, those facial expressions, the constant movement, like that's not how people talk to each other.
No.
If you were talking to me, I wouldn't be going, yes, miss.
I know.
Like
it reminds me of
the
Kamala Harris video recently with the kids, because she's really bad at it. Like Hillary Clinton is fairly adept. Like Hillary Clinton knows how. I mean, she's still pretty obvious to me. Like to me, it's very obvious. But she can pass for the most part. As like a lot of people will take her seriously and think that she's being genuine and isn't she just such a nice person? And Kamala Harris is terrible. I don't know how they thought that she was. I mean, and there's like an audition tape of Kamala Harris like auditioning for the role of the presidency, and it's every bit as bad as you might think it would be. But that video of her with those kids, it's so creepy and weird. And then we found out that those are child actors too. They really do.
Really? Of course they were. Why wouldn't they
straight with fucking child actors? Are you fucking kidding me?
You didn't know that? Yes.
No, I haven't on Twitter.
Yes.
Shit for a minute.
Yes, they were child actors. Somebody ended up finding where they like put out a thing where they were like hiring people to come and pretend to be involved in this program, and
it doesn't surprise me at all.
No, but what's super creepy about it is that they are manufacturing reality for us.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's not real. None of that stuff is real. It's like Joe Biden. Like Joe Biden isn't the president. I mean, he's the president, but he's not making any decisions. He's not like it's.
In all honesty, like ever since he was elected and inaugurated, I felt like we haven't had a president. Like I honestly feel like we don't have a president, and not like we ever really did with Trump or Obama or Bush or any of these fuckers, right? But it feels like there's no president.
That's because he doesn't do press conferences. He doesn't take questions. He doesn't do appearances unless they're very controlled, because he's senile as shit.
Yeah.
He can't even put together like coherent sentences.
And what he does, he's being racist as fuck.
Right. Or like sexist or rude or you know what I'm saying? Like they have to hide him. He doesn't do a lot of speaking. I mean, I don't even know when the last time he like did a press conference was like an actual like
what was that thing that he just was at a town hall?
But that's all scripted. That's with Anderson Cooper. That's all if it's scripted, he can I think it's better. They dope him up and they put him out there with like things he's supposed to say. All of the questions, like none of that stuff is spontaneous. None of the questions that are asked are spontaneous. All of those people are handed a question that they're supposed to be asking. And we know that like it's not like it's not legit. So yeah, this guy.
What was that dude's name? Bone. What was that guy? At one of the town halls where he was like, I'm still not sure with Hillary and Trump.
I don't remember that one.
Ken Bone.
Ken Bone. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm just your
just,
average Joe American in this red sweater. Whatever, dude.
It's a joke and none of it's real. Our elections aren't real. That's another thing that they've managed to somehow create division about elections. Sorry, my computer's going off. But there was
a documentary in 2006 about how easily it is to manipulate these machines.
I mean, just recently, like a couple years ago, they were at whatever that convention is. Like a 12-year-old got into a voting machine in like less than 10 minutes. But now because of Trump, if you say that our elections aren't legit, then all of a sudden you're a QAnon, you're a Trump supporter. Why do you support Trump? And no, I don't support Trump. And I'm not saying that necessarily things were rigged in his favor or whatever. I'm just saying that if an election happened in the United States of America, it was not a legit election. That shouldn't be controversial. I mean, our elections consistently rank dead last amongst Western democracies as far as election integrity goes. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just real life. Hi, Emma. Emma's here. Oh, you probably know Emma. She was in DC too. She's an amazing photographer. She took a lot of pictures.
Yeah, we go and shoot guns once in a while.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
I like Emma. But yeah.
We actually last time we hung out was with when Derek Bros was in town.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, how fun. I want to go shoot guns. I need to go shoot some guns.
Yeah, it's
fun. I want to go shoot guns with Magnus. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. That would be fun.
That would be fun. We should all get together and like go somewhere like a midway point for everybody. And
God, what would that be? Detroit?
Shoot some gums.
Detroit. That
would be close for Magnus. That would be about midway for me from you, I think. Emma's all over the damn place, all over the country all the time. So
I know. Chicago.
Come to Michigan, like right now, she says. Rome would come too, I bet. Rome would come out and shoot some guns with us.
That'd be cool. That'd be a lot of fun.
I think it would be fun to get like a whole bunch of us together in one place at one time. I know it's hard though. It's so hard. Like I would love to get the entire MCSC family together in one place at one time. Which that's hard too. Sleepy Josh can't fly. So we would all have to go to California, I think. But I think we could make that happen. I don't know. At least most of us. I think we could get like Convo's already there. I think we could get like Nico, myself, Steve's already there, Sleepy's already there. So it's really just like me and Nico that's not California based, right? Who am I forgetting? Oh, Franco. Franco's in DC.
Oh yeah, Franco's. Yeah,
okay.
Franco's.
Yeah. And I'm forgetting the HMO guys, but I don't know where they live.
Brooke. Yeah, I don't know where Brooks.
I don't know where Brooks and them live. I don't know them well enough.
I think they're on the West Coast though.
Are they?
I don't think so.
No, I think Brooks is in Michigan. Maybe.
Because I'm pretty sure one of the guys on that show knows Franco pretty well. Like they're friends.
Maybe he is DC. I don't know. I was on a show and I'm sure he told me, but I have a horrible memory. So
I knew at one point, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, we're gonna wrap it up here. Anyways, but yeah, I would love to get everybody together. I think that would be so much fun. I a long time ago, I was really high one day, and I was thinking about Lee Camp and Jimmy Dore and how fun would it be if they had like a weekend long convention, like comedy and organizing and all that stuff, and they could call it Camp Dore.
Oh, there you go.
And we could all like come and they could have like music and comedy shows, and then we could have like organizing shows and, you know, different booths for different causes and all that stuff. I thought that'd be fun. I was just really high though. And I actually DM'd Jimmy Dore about it because I was high and I thought it was a great fucking idea. He never answered me back, but this is before I started. Like now I talk to him, like now he answers my DMs. But this is way before that.
Well, so you got to drop it now.
Yeah, maybe I should tell him again. I think it's a good idea. I think it'll be fun, mostly just because I selfishly want to go to something like that. I think that'd be fun.
And then have it centrally located somewhere.
Yeah,
Like Chicago or something.
Chicago. I know he'd do Chicago. He's from Chicago.
Yeah.
I've gone to see him in Chicago twice.
Maybe Indiana, since Illinois kind of sucks right now, but
does Illinois suck right now?
I think so.
Oh, everywhere kind of sucks right. Ohio's not bad. I'll be honest. Ohio's not bad.
Is Indiana all right? I don't hear anything about Indiana.
I don't really hear anything about Indiana. Probably because they're it's like a red state. So usually, I mean, right now red states are. It depends.
Yeah.
It's a weird time. It's a weird fucking time, dude.
Yeah.
God damn it. Oh. Yeah. See, I told you, awesome idea. My comrade says so. I think it's a good idea, but I was also like incredibly stoned when I came up with that idea. I'm not gonna lie.
But Camp Dore, I mean, you got the name right there.
I know, right? Like it, like in a whole weekend convention. You know, so it is kind of like camp, sort of like camp for grown-ups.
And maybe we actually could camp, like literally camp.
That would be fun too. Like do like an outdoor, like fun, like rent like an entire campground and like.
That's why I'm saying instead of Chicago, like go either like outskirts of Wisconsin or Indiana or something. Yeah,
I think that'd be fun. I think it would be fun, and camping would be cool. I would be down for that. I mean, we could then like do like campfire,
sure.
Comedy shows, and
who doesn't want to do that right now after being cooped up forever?
I know. See, this is a great idea.
Yeah,
it's not just me being stoned.
And, like, get it like
Jimmy Dore, hit me up, homie. Hit me up. I don't even need credit for the idea. I just want to come. That's all. I just want to come. I just want to be there. Okay, so before we wrap up, one more time. Go support Jesse Jett and his music. Again, every week I'm going to try to boost somebody. I just ordered some handmade soaps from some people that I'm going to test out. If I like that, then I'll be boosting that. If you make stuff, or if you are an artist, or if you are a comedian, like last week I did Krish Mohan, or if you're a musician like Jesse Jett, I'm just trying to like boost some people who do stuff like that, especially coming up on the holidays. You can go buy a Jesse Jett album and give it away as a gift. Or you can go buy a Krish Mohan album, or you can commission a painting from Artsy Marxist and give it as a gift. I'm just trying to honestly trying to figure out ways that we can boost the movement financially in like small ways. So if you go and support these independent artists, that's one way that we can do that. So I dropped Jesse Jett's Bandcamp link earlier in the chat. I will do it again. Maybe if I can click the right button.
I think it's in the description.
It's in the description. It's in the show notes. You can also go to his YouTube page. Well, you can just search Jesse Jett. He has a YouTube page if you want to go. Not all of his stuff is on YouTube, but he has made like a couple videos. Some of them have lyrics on them. Some of them are just like the one that I played earlier. Just like it's nothing. It's just, but that's the only place I could find conviction. But yeah, go support his music. Go buy his albums. If you're gonna buy his albums, please do it on Bandcamp. Please do it on Bandcamp. Please do it on Bandcamp. He is on Spotify. Spotify's a piece of shit. They are very terrible to their artists. Same way with Krish Mohan. If you're going to buy Krish Mohan stuff, please do it either from his website or from Bandcamp. Bandcamp is at least kind of cool. And if you can do it on a Bandcamp Friday, that's even better because Bandcamp gives all of the stuff to the artists on Bandcamp Fridays, which I think is the first Friday of every month. I could be wrong though. Don't quote me on that. So yeah, please go support Jesse Jett on Bandcamp. We played Conviction at the top of the show. If you missed that, you can rewind it.
Very good.
Yeah. It gives me goosebumps. When he says our First Amendment rights are in solitary too, I get goosebumps every time.
Yeah.
I get goosebumps every time because he's right. So yes, and then just tomorrow. Well, actually, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter or whatever, so they can follow you and keep up with you?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter is the easiest place at Coy Contrarian.
I'll drop that in the.
I have had small conversations with Emma about putting something together here, maybe sometime in the near future. We're still bumping ideas with that.
Like a show?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't want to speak for Emma. We've just kind of casually talked about it a little bit here and there.
Do it.
More,
And
more
then-
the,
What was that?
the more the merrier.
Yeah.
We need more indie shows, like
Yes, we do.
not less.
Yes, we do.
And then I do have an Instagram, but I don't really use it that much.
That's me too. I have an Instagram. I'm very
I was
rarely on it.
I was trying to find you on there because I was
Really?
trying to like tag you because I took your Twitter post and just
So I
Please
have
capture that
one. I think it's. I don't even know what it is. Honestly, my personal one. I have it locked down.
sure. Yeah, I do.
because
Too.
I have pictures of my kids on there. But we also Facts on the Ground has one.
Okay.
That I never upload to. I'm so bad. I'm really bad at like self-promotion and all that stuff. So yeah, I have one. It's there. I don't ever post on it though. I do when I'm high sometimes and I can't sleep, I will watch the little like reels thing or whatever. Like the little,
Oh
they
my
make me
god, my
laugh.
girlfriend is so into that shit now.
Oh my god, some of them make me laugh. There's this one British girl, she's blonde, and she does like these skits where she's different parts of her body, and like they have conversations with each other. Like when she goes out, her liver will be like, "Oh no, you're not going out again," and then it's and she's fucking hilarious, and I love it so much. So I don't know what her name is. I should find out though and tell you guys because it is really funny. But anyway, so yeah, go follow Coy Contrarian at Coy Contrarian on Twitter to keep up with Eric. Go support Jesse Jet on Bandcamp. I have no idea who's coming on next week. I just realized that I don't have anybody scheduled. I don't think. I'll have to get on that. If you guys, if there's anybody you want me to try to get on the show, let me know. I'll try to get them. Tomorrow there's another court date for Julian Assange. Please make noise about that on Twitter, on Facebook, on wherever you can. Talk to your friends, family, and neighbors. We need lots. It's gonna take if today showed anything. It's exactly what I've been saying for a very long time. It's going to take mass public pressure. The courts are not going to do the right thing here. That's just the tough reality of things. They are not. They want to just kick this can down the road. They want Julian Assange to die in prison, and we cannot let that happen, you guys.
And judging from Maruzzi's, response to that, like
We're
he
very
looks
close to that reality. I don't
So,
mean to be
hitting the streets, people.
like doom and gloom about that or be like it depresses the fuck out of me too, you guys. He's not doing well.
No.
Stella also tweeted about that on Sunday. She got to, I think it was Saturday or Sunday before the protest. She went to Belmarsh and then she went to the march that they had, which had a great turnout. He's not doing well. He's not. He's
I
not.
feel awful for her and her kids too. Like this, like
Her boys don't even really know their father.
no.
I mean, he's been in prison their entire existence. And then because of COVID, there was like a 9-month period where he couldn't see them at all. And then when he couldn't touch them. And
I'm surprised they let him see his kids at all. I really do.
Same.
It's rare. I mean, they don't get to see him very often. But this, I don't care really what you think of like him as what's happening to him is fucked up beyond measure.
Dude, I don't, unless you're Kissinger, you shouldn't be tortured.
No. And he's being tortured to death. And he has been for over a decade. And he shouldn't have been punished at all, but for sure he's been punished enough.
For sure.
For sure.
And,
He's been
and
punished
definitely Stella and the kids and
his dad.
he has a son
and his
with
brother.
another woman, is that right?
What's that?
He has a son with a different woman.
Daniel. I think he's in his 20s.
And
But
he's
yes.
getting all kinds of death threats too. And it's
Yes,
like, what does
that's
this have to do
why.
with anything?
So part of the reason why they're trying to discredit Kopelman, which is the psychologist who or psychiatrist who gave testimony about Julian Assange's mental health. Part of the reason why they're trying to discredit him is because he kept secret that he had 2 children, and the reason why he kept it secret was exactly because of what's happening to Daniel, which is his oldest son. That they get death threats, and so that was why he kept it a secret, because he felt that there was what's the word I'm looking for? Like he had an ethical duty or whatever to protect their identity.
Right.
But now they're using that against him and trying to use that as a way to discredit his entire testimony about Julian Assange's mental health, which is disgusting. But that's the United States for you. So I didn't even get to make fun of Megabrain. Megabrain made a whole shit ton of mistakes today. He said Eric Snowden instead of Edward Snowden. He said special administrative matters instead of special administrative measures.
Megabrain.
Megabrain, fuck you, dude. You're a piece piece of shit. You are a ginormous bona fide. I just had an Anna Kasparian moment. Just had an Anna Kasparian moment.
Don't screen capture it.
Brain had another
But
stroke.
I'm not telling an award-winning journalist to fuck off. I'm telling a legitimate piece of shit to
Yes.
fuck off. So yes, please go and make noise about Julian Assange. I really don't mean to be like doom and gloom, but we are very close to the reality that we will lose Julian Assange, that he's going to die in prison. I don't know how much more he can take. And given Stefania Maruzzi's tweets, she's known him for a very long time, and for her to be that concerned, I believe her, and
Yeah.
I'm depressed as
She's a
fuck
hell of a
about it.
journalist. I don't see her.
She's a
lying.
hell of a journalist, y'all. If you're not following Stefania Maruzzi, you fucking should be. She is a beast. And she hates when I say stuff like that because she's like a peace-loving, like nice, but she is a bulldog of a journalist, y'all. She does not give up. She's been fighting FOIA requests about the Julian Assange case for years, and
Oh, I
she does
bet.
not give up. She does not give up. She is absolutely amazing. You should definitely be following her. She has a new book coming out. It's in Italian right now, but they're working on the English version. Hopefully that'll be out soon. Anyways, also, as always, every week, Sleepy Josh has a buy me a coffee link, which I could easily drop in the chat if I was organized, but I'm not. But if you go to Abort You on Twitter, you can hold on. I'm getting it. Here I come, guys. Go and buy Sleepy Josh a coffee because there's no way. Although, y'all, I ran the live stream for the vigil on Friday. I did it. And I'm very proud of myself. But I couldn't do this show without Sleepy Josh, and he's been very helpful getting everything set up so that I don't have to worry about all of that, and I just have to like push buttons. I can push buttons. So please go and buy Sleepy Josh a coffee. Go follow Eric on Twitter. You guys know where you can find me. I'm there all the time, and I love you guys. Thanks for coming and watching the show. I'm really sad
Thanks,
my
Misty.
troll. Yeah, I'm sad my troll didn't show up. That depresses me a little bit.
Thank you, Sleepy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sleepy Josh. Thanks everybody for coming. We'll see you next week. Surprised on who the guest is. I have no idea. We'll find out. So thanks, guys. See you next week.